Welcome to the Make It a Better Day podcast, where we explore simple ways to create positive change in our lives and the world around us. I'm Matthew, and joining me today is
Laura. And can I just say, I've been looking forward to discussing today's topic since I first read the article. Where the wild things are, and why they matter feels so relevant to everything that's happening in our world right now.
It's funny you mention that. This morning, I was running late as usual, head down, mentally going through my to-do list for the day, when something completely stopped me in my tracks. This little family of mushrooms had popped up overnight next to the path. They weren't there yesterday, and they might not be there tomorrow, but for that moment, they were kind of magical.
Those small encounters can be so powerful, can't they? The article opens with that moment where the writer really sees a bird, truly sees it, for the first time. Not as background noise or scenery, but as another being sharing their space. And then there's that Gary Snyder quote that's been rattling around in my head all week: nature is not a place to visit. It is home.
That quote hit me like a ton of bricks. I mean, when you really think about it, we talk about going out into nature like it's this separate thing from our regular lives. But that boundary is completely artificial, isn't it?
Completely. My daughter pointed this out to me last week in the most 5-year-old way possible. We were at the grocery store, and she suddenly asked why there was a bird inside. I started explaining that it had accidentally flown in, and she just looked at me and said, "But aren't we all outside together?" That really puts things in perspective.
I love that. Kids haven't yet absorbed all our artificial divisions between human spaces and nature spaces. The article talks about this disconnection we've created, treating the planet like, what was the phrase? Like a hotel room we can trash because someone else will clean it up.
That image really stuck with me too. And the reality check that follows: there is no someone else, and we definitely don't have a backup planet stashed away somewhere. What I appreciated about the article, though, is that it doesn't just leave us feeling doomed. It gives us these stories of people making real change.
Yes. That story about Isatou Cisse in the Gambia was incredible. Taking a massive plastic waste problem and transforming it into beautiful, practical items that create income for women in her community. It reminds me of that saying, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now.
I've been thinking about that exact saying lately. You know, my grandfather was a farmer, and he used to tell me that we don't inherit the earth from our ancestors, we borrow it from our children. For the longest time, I thought that was just something he made up, but I've since learned it's an old proverb. Either way, it speaks to this responsibility we all share.
Your grandfather sounds like he was pretty wise. Speaking of wisdom through trial and error, I really appreciated the writer's honesty about their backyard wildlife haven attempts. That first disaster with the invasive plants. I've accidentally created similar ecological nightmares in my yard.
Oh my goodness, me too. Last year I bought what I thought were native wildflower seeds, but ended up hosting a bit of a garden takeover. It's a learning process, isn't it? But that's what I found so encouraging about the article: even imperfect efforts matter.
Absolutely. And those rabbits showing up at dusk, becoming like the writer's favorite TV show. I had something similar happen with a family of cardinals that nested in the bush outside my kitchen window. I found myself rearranging my morning routine just so I could drink my coffee and watch them.
It's amazing how these connections change us, isn't it? I've noticed that since I started paying more attention to the wildlife around my home, I've become more present in other areas of my life too. More patient with my kids, more aware of my consumption habits.
That's exactly what happened to me. It's like once you start paying attention to one aspect of the world around you, you can't help but notice everything else more deeply too. I've started carrying a reusable mug everywhere because I can't stand the thought of more disposable cups in landfills.
It's those ripple effects that make such a difference. You know, I've been thinking about that part of the article where they mention the unmowed patch of grass that completely scandalized the neighbor. My homeowners association would have an absolute meltdown if I tried that.
Oh, I feel that struggle. We're so conditioned to think that perfectly manicured lawns are the ideal, even though they're basically ecological deserts. Have you found any creative ways to work around those kinds of restrictions?
I've been sneaky about it, to be honest. I started with just a small native plant garden in the back corner where it's less visible. Then I gradually expanded it year by year. I also joined the HOA board specifically so I could help update some of their landscaping guidelines. Playing the long game.
That's brilliant. Community level change from the inside. It connects to what the article says about not waiting for someone else to fix things. Sometimes we need to be that someone.
Exactly. And it doesn't have to be dramatic or perfect. I love the article's suggestion to just take 10 minutes to be present in whatever patch of nature is accessible to you. Even that forgotten green space behind the grocery store has its own ecosystem worth noticing.
I tried something like that this weekend. There's this little creek that runs behind my neighborhood that I've driven past probably 1,000 times. On Sunday, instead of just glancing at it from the car, I actually parked and walked down to sit by it for a while.
What was that experience like for you?
It was, surprisingly emotional, actually. First, I noticed all the human impacts, some trash, a shopping cart half submerged in the water. But then, the longer I sat there, the more life I started to see. Water striders skimming across the surface, a heron hunting patiently in the shallows, plants growing determinately through the concrete channel. It was this perfect microcosm of both our impact and nature's resilience.
That's so beautiful. It's like peeling back layers of awareness. First we see the obvious, but with patience, we start noticing the deeper stories happening all around us. I feel like that's what the article is ultimately inviting us to do, to slow down enough to notice.
And to recognize that we're part of this system, not separate from it. The line that keeps echoing for me is how their survival and ours are braided together.
That braided imagery is so powerful. So what would you suggest as a first step for someone listening who wants to strengthen their connection with the natural world?
Start where you are, literally. You don't need to visit a national park or climb a mountain. Just step outside wherever you live and really look around. Who else is living there? Birds, insects, plants pushing through cracks in the sidewalk, they all have stories and survival strategies worth noticing.
I love that. And maybe learn the names of what you see. There's research suggesting that knowing the names of local plants and animals creates a deeper sense of connection and care. When you can say, "Hey, that's a chickadee at my feeder," instead of just some bird, your relationship to that creature changes.
So here's a gentle challenge for today, one that might change how you see the world around you. Take 10 minutes to sit quietly in whatever patch of nature you can access. No phone, no agenda. Just notice who else calls your neighborhood home. The longer you sit, the more you'll see.
And we'd absolutely love to hear what you discover. What surprised you? What had been there all along that you never noticed before? Share your observations with us using #NatureAsHome.
Don't forget to check out the full article on our website, along with videos and additional resources. And if you connect with these ideas, our Redbubble store has some beautiful nature-inspired designs that help support our work making content like this.
Thanks for joining us today on Make It a Better Day, where we believe that small choices create big ripples. We'll be back tomorrow with more ideas to help make your day just a little bit better.
Until then, remember that you don't have to travel far to find the wild things, they're already all around you, waiting to be noticed. See you next time.